Knife, it's your bat. There you go. Now go cut your hair and clean yourself up, you dirty clown. So he's like, thanks, and he like cuts his hair and like presumably it's his first time ever doing this, like grooming himself. And then he comes out looking like the fucking berries and cream Skittles guy. He's like, berries and cream, berries and cream. Hello and welcome to The Fuck Did I Just Watch? With your host, Kyle McLemore. This week, we'll be reviewing the 2015 movie Victor Frankenstein, starring Daniel Radcliffe and James McAvoy. It's directed by Paul McGuigan, who you might know from Lucky Number Slevin. Daniel Radcliffe, of course, known for Harry Potter series, and James McAvoy from the Split franchise and also X-Men. You might know him as the most recent, I think he's the most recent Professor X. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. And before we get started, of course, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and leave us a like, a comment, and go ahead and hit that bell as well. All likes and comments are appreciated. Leave a comment and let us know what other movies you'd like us to review here. But of course, before we get started, they're coming. Spoilers! That's right, spoilers ahead. We're going to be doing a full breakdown, so if you have not seen the movie and would like to, please pause now and come back later for the full review. Okay, you had your chance. So here come the spoilers. Let's go ahead and read the synopsis here. Told from Igor's perspective, we see the troubled young assistant's dark origins, his redemptive friendship with the young medical student Victor von Frankenstein, and become eyewitnesses to the emergence of how Frankenstein became the man and the legend we know today. Yeah, it's kind of like a prequel, and kind of also like a retelling, so like a reimagining, but also kind of like a prequel. So yeah, the way it starts out is we're introduced. It is kind of told from Igor's perspective, so it's introducing us to Igor, who's not actually Igor. He's just, at the beginning, he's known as the Hunchback, or I think he even says the Freak if you're being kind. Like, it's more horrible to call him the Hunchback rather than the Freak. So he works at, it's Daniel Radcliffe. He's the Hunchback. He works at a circus, and it's a very strange relationship that he has with the circus, because he's like, I've always, like, the people like to think of the circus as a family, but every family has their clown, and he just so happens to also be a clown. Who did they just beat the shit out of during the show? Like, instead of, it doesn't seem like it's like fate. It seems like they're really beating the hell out of him and really mistreating him. And then he's like, oh, I took right away to the fascination of the medical field and like all the way of the internal workings of the nerves and the systems, and it shows him like drawing these amazing like diaphragms of the human body and the muscular structure and all this amazing stuff that he's drawing by hand in detail that is insane. And he's like, I took it upon myself to be the carnival doctor. So even though he's like the only doctor that they have or whatever, they still treat him like a shit. There's a part of this guy's like, oh, look at you, with his like crazy rat giant pupils and like rat face, and he's like, oh, you think you're really smart, do you? Oh, get out there, you freak, and like hits him. Go save some of our injured people, you fuck. So yeah, cut to finally the introduction of the two characters. They're introduced because during the show there's an acrobat lady that he's like in love with, who like slips and falls, and she's just like poof. And he's like, oh shit, runs over there because he's like the Hunchback doctor. And then Victor Frankenstein, who's like a medical student, is like, holy shit. So he runs down and he's like, do you know what's wrong with her? And then we go into Sherlock Holmes X-ray. She's got like a broken collar. I think the first thing that Frankenstein says is like previous injuries. Like, not like, holy shit, are you a doctor? Or like, hey, what's going on? Or like, blah, blah, blah. Just straight to previous medical history. And he's like, oh, she broke her fucking collarbone when she was like 12 or something. And he's like, oh yeah, it's fucking broken over here. She can't breathe. It's like putting pressure on her lung. He's like, what do we do? And James McAvoy's like, fucking nothing. I don't got tools for this shit. She's dead. And he's like, wait, I'm Daniel Radcliffe. I know. If I get like, give me your pocket watch. Give me your pocket watch. And he like puts it there and like to like realign it. And she's like, I'm alive. And Frankenstein is like, holy shit, you're not just some hunchback clown. You're like super smart. And then here comes the carnival owner like, oi, I don't like the way you're talking to him. So yeah, you just saved her life. That's how they treat him. Is like he's like the medic of the circus, but they're still like, I think Frankenstein's like, you need to get out of here. Like, you can do so much more. And he's like, I don't like the way you're talking to him. Grabs Daniel Radcliffe, throws all his shit, dumps it, lights it on fire. Oh, you think about leaving? Throw him in a cage. That'll teach you, you piece of shit. Keep healing our people for free. So then Frankenstein's like, hey, I can break you out. Does. They have a fun little Sherlock Holmes with like the slow motion and like the whole old knives throwing, and like it's a whole fun escape out of the circus. Get back to Frankenstein's place after they escape, and he's like, yeah, this is gonna be weird, and like he like tackles him, and like he's like, you're not a hunchback, and he's like, what? And like stabs a syringe into his fucking hump, and is like, and he fucking like primes it by like sucking on the tube, and like spits out all the abscess or whatever. And he's like, you're not a hunchback, you've just got this big fucking cyst. So he fucking drains it. And then he's like, all right, this next bit's gonna hurt. And he fucking like just basically tackles him into a fucking pillar. Oh, my spine is straight now. Straps on like this fucking like girdle thing to like keep his body straight. And he's like, there, drained your fucking thing and I fixed your back. There you go. Now go cut your hair and clean yourself up, you dirty clown. So he's like, thanks. And he like cuts his hair and like, presumably it's his first time ever doing this, like grooming himself, and then he comes out looking like the fucking berries and cream Skittles guy. He's like, berries and cream, berries and cream. Goes and visits his messed up girlfriend in the hospital. But yeah, the first quarter of this movie is actually super fun. It's like the whole escape from the circus, and like, oh, you freak. One guy gets hit with like a throwing knife during the escape process, so that brings in the police squad. So here comes our Inspector Andrew Scott, Inspector Turbin, who comes in, does like a whole Sherlock Holmes, like following it seems like two gentlemen ran through here and fucking tripped over this thing, and like, manslaughter and self-defense at most, like blah, blah, blah. But what's this? And he finds like a little baddie with like a lion's paw in it. He's like, why? Why would he have this lion's paw? And he's like, I don't know. Maybe he wanted the nail or something. I don't fucking know. He's like, no, something's going on. It smells weird. Something ungodly. He's very like religious. And he's like, it's my moral duty to stop this man from whatever evil he's doing. So Frankenstein and he takes the identity of Igor. I used to have a roommate. You can take his identity if anybody asks. They start slapping things together. Igor's like supernatural at fixing up nerves and all the internal workings. And he's like, all right, you fix these lungs, I'll take it to the basement. He's like, what are you going to do with them? He's like, none of your business. You just keep fixing those lungs and make me a heart and whatever other parts I need. Finally goes down to the basement, and he's been building like this chimpanzee out of like other chimpanzee parts, and like brings it to life. It's like alive for a second, and then they go to like school and they do it there, then demonstrate him in front of like some rich kid. It comes to life, and there's a whole fun chase through the academy. They finally have to kill the monkey because it's like out of control. The rich kid, the rich guy. Played by, it doesn't look like his pictures. Oh, there we go. Freddie Fox, who plays Finnegan. He's like this other student who's like super rich, and like he's like, I misjudged you. Like I'll totally finance you to build me like a fucking even cooler monster than that chimpanzee. I wanted to talk about like the similarities in this between this Frankenstein and Young Frankenstein, because they do a direct like call out where there's a part where like they're at like a banquet and Daniel Radcliffe is talking to his girlfriend about how crazy Victor is. Like, well, he's kind of eccentric, but he's pretty cool. Like, he's a cool dude. You might like him. And they're looking at him like downstairs, and then he just like whoop, like pops up like whoop, what's up? And he's like, Victor, how did you get up here so fast? Which is like a straight callback to Young Frankenstein. And then she's like, the girl's like, ooh, whatever, sorry, Frankenstein. And he's like, Frankenstein. So boom, straight callback. And then Andrew Scott's character starts to kind of morph into Kenneth Mars. The two inspectors are like kind of the same, because like in Young Frankenstein, he's hysterically, he has like an eye patch and like a fake arm that he like whoop, 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 has to like keep turning like that. And then slowly throughout the movie, Andrew Scott's character turns into that guy. Because first he's like a normal inspector, but then like he gets like his hand caught, and it's like, oh, gets caught in between like some big gears and like crushes it while sparks are blasting into his face. So later he's like talking, and he just goes like this like blah blah blah, and he's got like a wooden hand all of a sudden. And then like later he has an eye patch, which he just takes the eye patch on and off whenever like his eye seems okay. Just wears the eye patch whenever as like a fashion thing. It's just interesting the similarities between this Frankenstein and Young Frankenstein. Well, yeah, we get to our big finale. They go to the rich guy has like a castle like on some deserted place so they can do their experiments in peace. Inspector's still after them. He really goes insane with like, it's my mission from God to do this. Yeah, he's all crazy. They have all their pieces of their man put together. They finally zap him, and he comes to life, and he's alive, but then like he's also not kind of alive. He has like dead eyes, and he's like, this isn't life, and like he starts to go crazy, just like the chimp. Like, who didn't see that coming? Like, so he's just on a rampage, and they gotta kill him, which they do. Great thing about this movie is the amount of saliva. James McAvoy really goes for it. There's literally like 5 times that I counted where it's like a spit take. Like there's a huge amount of saliva that comes flying out of his mouth. And then like the final one is right at the end where he's like, they're about to like lift up his Frankenstein monster, and he's like, it's like a close up on him, and he's like, Prometheus ascending, and like when he says ascending, it is just like a Ludi ascending, like so much saliva. I'm pretty sure it probably happened once way earlier in filming where he was like, I forget, there's another part where he's like, hey, you remember your place, like he's really gritting his teeth, and he like salivas again. And I bet you it happened like once, and they were like, oh, it just like really sells the emotion. Do it 20 more times. I want you to shower this set with saliva. And James McAvoy does it. He really throws some fucking ludies out there, man. It's crazy. But yeah, so like I said, like the beginning of this movie is very entertaining. The whole run through the circus, beating the shit out of Daniel Radcliffe. Seeing Daniel in Hunchback form is great. He like fully squats down and like really commits to it, and it's great seeing him when he turns into Betty's and cream with his little bob cut. If runtime hour 50, if they would have knocked it back a little shorter, probably would have been better. And then yeah, like the whole sequel, prequel, remake thing, it's kind of like a prequel because they kill the monster at the end, and then he's like writes him a letter, and he's like, I have some ideas of how to perfect this thing. I might call upon you in the future. Until then, it's me, your friend. Ding, 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 ding. Victor Frankenstein. Again, like Sherlock Holmes credits. Yeah. What to give it? What do we do? Out of 10? I give it, I mean, I don't know. It's not like the worst, and it's definitely not the best, but it does have some fun, entertaining stuff in it. I think the best rating to give it is probably 6. 6 dismembered lion paws out of 10. Would I recommend it? Yeah, sure. I mean, if you like the Frankenstein kind of story, if you like the Victorian era. I mean, if you're a fan of James McAvoy and Daniel Radcliffe, neither of them are bad in this movie. They're both good. It just kind of drags out, and it also, like, it rips off too much from other things. I don't know, yeah. Interesting to say the least. Would I recommend? Sure. Like I said, if you do like the Frankenstein story, it's different to see it from Igor's perspective. Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. It's an interesting watch. 6 lion paws out of 10. Yeah. Thank you for watching. The fuck did I just watch? Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Be sure to smash that bell and then leave us a like. Be sure to comment any movies you'd like us to review, and we'll see you next week on the review. Bye.